Hey, what's up guys? It's Texmer talking to you here, and today I want to talk about why the 14-inch MacBook Pro base model is a great option and why Apple did right releasing it, even though it has a bent M1 Pro. What I mean by that is this computer features an 8-core CPU, not a 10-core. So it has 6 high-performance cores and 2 high-efficiency cores because it has 2 high-performance cores disabled. This happens because of the yield rates that Apple experiences when producing these chips, and the lower yielding chips, so the ones that come defective, they are cheaper to produce as the TSMC is producing them, so they sell them cheaper to Apple, and Apple is able to go and put the price down. In this case, it's really great because it brings mini LED display with promotion, new redesign, more ports and everything else down to a lower price. But before I discuss why it's very important that this computer is out, roll the intro. So, this computer has an 8-core CPU, and you are already pointing out that that's not enough. That's just like the M1, and if you want to spend $2,000 on a computer, why would I get an 8-core CPU just like the M1? Well, first of all, it's not like the M1. It has a 6-core architecture. So it has 6 high-performance cores, 2 high-efficiency cores. 2 more high-performance cores has the M1 and 2 less high-efficiency cores. But these performance cores are way more important when talking about high-performance tasks like video editing or photo editing. But this computer with the M1 Pro is much more powerful than the M1 MacBook Pro. Secondly, this computer also features the new redesign. It's bigger, it has a 14-inch screen, and it also has the new ports. And more importantly, the new ProMotion XDR mini LED display, which when compared to the 13-inch MacBook Pro with the M1, it's much better. So you start to see that this computer has a lot of value in it. It starts at 16 gigabytes, and if you want to get 16 gigabyte M1 Pro, you have to spend $200 more. It has a 14-core GPU, and it has a 14-core GPU, which is way more than the 10-core GPU on the M1. So it's very impressive that this M1 Pro, although it's bent, is very powerful too, and way more powerful than the M Pro. And it's very impressive that this M1 Pro bent, but it's very impressive that even though this M1 Pro is bent, it's very much more powerful than the M1 present on the 13-inch MacBook Pro, and you get the package of the 14-inch without, of course, the 96-watt power adapter that comes with the other 14-inch MacBook Pro. But that other option, which comes with the full-fat M1 Pro, costs $500 more. Are you ready to spend $24.99 on a 14-inch MacBook Pro? Much, and a lot of people are not. And so this is the entry level for the new designs that are coming out. Of course, Apple will release an M2 MacBook Pro later in the year, and there were leaks talking about the fact that this M2 MacBook Pro would come with MagSafe, would come with mini LED displays, but I think they are not going to be as good as these MacBook Pros, of course. And the redesign will look more like a cheap computer, not feel like a cheap computer because the MacBooks never feel cheap, but they will look more closely to the M1 iMac, not as Pro-like and not as premium. So I believe that Apple introduced this M1 Pro MacBook Pro, which is bent and starts at $2,000, so that people with, I don't know, not that much money but want to access these new mini LED displays, this new 14-inch design, the new big, huge, no bezel-less screen. And it's very impressive to see that Apple did that and used bent chips and introduced that to the market, so they could say that this new MacBook Pro started at $2,000 and not at $2,500, because you can get a 2500 14-inch MacBook Pro with the full-fat M1, or you can get a 16-inch MacBook Pro with the full-fat M1. The differences are this 14-inch MacBook Pro starts with 1 terabyte and the 16-inch starts with 512. So it makes a lot of sense to introduce a computer to try to fill that gap between the $1,300 of the M1 MacBook Pro and the $2,500 for the full-fat M1 Pro. So I believe that Apple did great introducing this model. I think that, in my opinion, is the model to get for most people that are looking for these computers and they are not pros, the real pros, just so to say, that they need the most amount of performance ever. This is a very great computer because enables people to get a lot of things that they might be looking for this computer and not know. I'm talking about the performance. Of course, everyone is looking for the performance there, or so they will get an M1. But if the performance is not the main deal when buying this computer and they want just the new redesign, the new ports or the ProMotion displays, this is the best computer for them, because the M1 Pro bint is so powerful still, and it will be just enough for everyday tasks and to even edit videos, 4K streams for the normal Pro that wants a little bit more than the normal computers. So I believe that even though removing the touch bar and adding the function keys might upset some people, it was the right choice. And so this computer makes a lot of sense in 2021 and the end of 2021, because it tries to establish the price of this new redesigned and new generation MacBook Pros a little bit lower. So it gives some people that don't have much money an entry-level device, so they can use an XDR mini LED display with ProMotion technology. And I think it's great. I think that that's a computer I will recommend for most people that they are no real pros and they know that they need more performance. If you are a pro, you know that you are a pro because you know that you need that extra performance. But if you don't need that extra performance, go for the M1 Pro, no bint, because that computer is a great option. Starts at $2,000. It has a 67 watt, which is the same as the 13-inch. It charges fast. It probably won't have a fast charging capabilities, but it charges fast enough. You have mini LED display, ProMotion with the bezel-less design with the notch. You have, of course, the new redesign. You have more ports like the HDMI SD card slot. You have 3 Thunderbolt 4 ports. You have more support for extra displays. You have a more powerful CPU, a more powerful GPU than the M1. So it makes a lot of sense to go to this $2,000 computer. Again, it's expensive and you are thinking that I'm buying a defective CPU, but do not think it that way. Think it like, if I hadn't this option, I wouldn't be able to buy an M1 Pro, MacBook Pro. So I think that this computer is a great option for who wants to spend the least amount of money for the most amount of computer. And this new generation of MacBook Pros is just insane. And I'm very happy that there's an option for the people that don't have a big budget to spend on these MacBook Pros, but still want the amazing features that comes with them. But what are your thoughts on this base model? Are you getting one? Are you going to spend more money on these computers? Of course, they are all back ordered right now, but I think Apple will catch up with the demand, and probably in November, you will be able to pick one on store right away. But what are your thoughts on this computer? Leave them on the comment down below. And while you're there, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Follow my social networks, Twitter and Instagram. This was Tex talking to you here. Bye.